Jeff Keighley set up Highguard to fail, not intentionally, but a lot of the reactions to the launch can be blamed on him. So when Highguard was positioned as the one more thing at the Game Awards this year, many people were confused. The general understanding of the spot is that it would be a title that will really get the audience hyped up. This wasn't helped by the persistent rumors of Half-Life 3 being revealed, but, that's like a constant rumor thing that's maybe never going to happen. So when Highguard was shown off and it ended up looking like just another hero shooter, many people were left scratching their heads. Immediately, gamers took to social media to voice their doubts about Highguard's long-term success. On Reddit, user coolman_Russo said, "I didn't necessarily hate what I saw from the trailer, but the nature of it being the final reveal of the show really worked against it. Honestly, for the best results, it would have been ideal to have had an open beta shadow drop after the show ended, so folks could at least form their own opinion with some actual gameplay." Another user responded, "It did no favors that Jeff was hyping it up as it was the last reveal. People assumed it was something else entirely, and that got the negative hate train going when it didn't meet expectations." After the Game Awards, Wildlight Entertainment went radio silent, which didn't help make people feel overly confident about the quality of the game. Many assumed they paid millions for the spot, and that caused backlash as, again, people were expecting more. It wasn't until recently that it came out that Keighley was just a huge fan of the title, and he asked them to show it off. With Keighley being a member of the gaming media known for having good taste, that caused a lot of people to wonder if the game was actually going to be good. For his part, he remained confident, tweeting a gif of John Hammond from Jurassic Park, implying that the game would be good and people would be apologizing to him. So Highguard launched on January 26th and reached a peak concurrent player count of nearly 100,000. So at the very least, this wasn't going to be a Concord-level failure. However, the reaction to the game was not stellar, as it sits at mostly negative on Steam with nearly 20,000 reviews. I'll read a couple of the negative reviews so you can get an idea. User No Bunga: "I actually played this game. I see what they're doing, but it's done poorly, and they can fix it. Very simple stuff, but let's go down the list. Rework your tutorial. There's a soft lock by skipping stuff. Discovered on first run. Also, finishers need to be mentioned as they are deadly. Also, explain how breaking player orbs is a benefit in there as well, as it gives you 2 ticks of your shield back, and you can revive while moving. Allow us to turn off motion blur. It hurts my eyes, and it's everywhere. Even when you aim your weapons, it's there. It's painful. Allow players to change the loadout while at a base, even later on in the match. Buying weapons should not delete the weapon from the match. It should drop it on the ground. Should add a surrender button because there are a good amount of players that give up an AFK/AFK farm. Allow the adjustments of reticules. It's 2026. It shouldn't be subjected to a series of lines that don't make sense. Add a report menu. Currently, there's no way to report players for being a bad teammate or being robots. Add an AFK timer. You can be AFK for the entire match and not get punished. The design of the map leaves much more to be desired, as it's massive, but it's 3v3. It feels terrible when nothing is happening for the majority of the match until it's time to pick up the sword or when the spawns are locked. It shouldn't be 3v3. It should be 5v5 or something else. Please fix your game. Please give me a job. I'll QA your game. I'll put in the work, but please fix it." Another negative review said, "This is generally not a terrible game at all. The gunplay feels honestly satisfying, and there's a nice fluidity to the game that I really enjoy. But holy moly, I do not understand some of the decision making here. The game feels like a game made by a lot of very talented developers who are not allowed to communicate throughout the entire game dev process. Nothing clicks. They have poached a bunch of systems from other games that worked well within those games, but when shoved together, just don't make much sense at all. The gameplay feels at its best during the sieges, smaller environments with chaos, objectives, and non-stop firefights. But the rest of the time, I'm running around a map that is way too big, collecting shitty, I'm guessing, crystals on the back of my horse. Why am I doing that? It's boring. It ruins the flow of the gameplay." But not everyone was so negative. Here's a user who has 6.5 hours on record and recommended it, saying, "I logged into the game to roast it and try it out before it was gone like the rest of you probably did. However, I gotta say that the game is actually extremely fun for some reason. My only real complaint is that it feels like the farming phase before the shield breaker spawn doesn't hold a lot of weight for the outcome of the match. I actually like the 3v3 game mode, but I understand that it isn't for everyone and it's not everyone's cup of tea, and a 5v5 would be cool. The reason I like 3v3 is because you might be able to outplay the enemy team when you're out of respawns and beat them 1-3, but there's basically no way you can win a 1v5. I've heard of the giant countryside map complaints too. I get it, but I like it too. Basically, the defending siege phase is like playing a Valorant or CSGO map on a tightly designed level, and the giant open world is like playing Apex and trying to get the circle before it closes. Some of my favorite experiences in the game so far are sniping the mount of the person holding the shield breaker, leaving them in a field, and being able to pick them off. The hate is unwarranted and basically caused a knee-jerk reaction because Jeff Keighley saved this for the last of the Game Awards. There are plenty of things that can be improved, sure, but the level of hate this game is getting is vastly overblown compared to its issues. The gunplay feels amazing, and the game mode is super unique, but I get how the uniqueness might not be everyone's cup of tea. If this game was announced halfway through the Game Awards, and Divinity or Half-Life 3 was the one last thing, I honestly think the game would be at 70% at the very least. Another positive review, Red. Honest to God, this game is not as bad as people claim it to be. I'd like to start out this review by talking about the pros. The game is extremely fun with friends. I played with 2 of my friends going in fully thinking this game is the next Concord, and after 2 rounds, we collectively came to the conclusion that the game is not really as bad as people say it is. All things considered, the game's 30GB size is very nice when compared to other hero shooters on the market. Rivals with its 100GB install size, and Overwatch 2 with 78GB. The concept for the game and the animations are very well made and put together, making it truly feel like some effort and love was put into the multiple aspects of the game. Now, let's go over the cons. The game has a major identity crisis. There is way too much shit going on at once, and it gets kind of overwhelming. You've got shopping for weapons similar to Valorant. You've got a multitude of different mechanics similar to those of Apex, zip lines in the movement. There's the mining for materials that reminds me of Fortnite, but it has an unnecessary quick time event for swinging. You throw and catch your melee, which is very reminiscent of God of War, etc. Lastly, the optimization could definitely be better. With all that being said, I had and will most likely continue to have fun with this game. I think the game's good in what it does, and well, to an extent, it can definitely thrive if the devs decide to take community's feedback. Now to address the elephant in the room. Do I think this game is some revolutionary, industry-changing piece of media? Absolutely fucking not. But do I think it deserves all the hate that it's getting now? No, not really. Gaming media also was not particularly kind to this title, especially content creators on YouTube. YouTuber Mug Thief released a video titled Highguard is truly a miserable experience, lamenting that the game tried to be too many things while doing none of them well. Mr. Matty Plays also echoed that the game was less than the sum of its parts in his review. Legendary Drops also chimed in to lambast the game, though he's often quite negative, so I guess take any opinion he has with a grain of salt. So after watching these content creators basically shit all over the game, there was only one thing left for me to do, and that was to try it for myself. And my personal verdict is, I think the game's actually pretty good. I know. It almost feels like I'm being contrarian just to stand out, but I played the game before looking at what other people thought of it and came out thinking that it was a solid base that did some really fun things and that it had room to grow and improve. It wasn't amazing out of the gate, but multiplayer titles really are. Then I went online and realized that I'm very much in the minority, but I can't help that my first impression was positive, and I'm not going to lie in the hopes that the YouTube algorithm makes this video a suggested video to one of theirs. I'm just going to give you my honest opinion. So the game is broken up into stages that work as a kind of funnel in place of the storm, which brings players together in Battle Royale games. 2 teams of 3 begin a match reinforcing their base, then they have a 2-minute period to go out and loot, as well as collect crystals that can be used at an in-game shop. After the 2-minute period, the Shieldbreaker sword spawns on the map and both teams rush toward it, trying to claim it in a capture the flag style. Once one team controls it, they try to get to their opponent's base to break their shield down. Once they do, they have 3 spots in the base that they can go to plant bombs. 2 bomb sites where you need to get rid of both of them to win, or if you manage to plant it on the heart, you can win the game automatically. Which I thought was odd to have an auto win spot alongside the 2 bomb spots, until I played and I realized that it was so one team can't just camp the remaining bomb spot. There's always going to be the 2 spots to split your defense. I've had some fun back and forth, times where my team was defending, held out, flipped the script on the enemy, broke their shield, planted bombs, and won, as well as games where my team steamrolled the opponents or was steamrolled. Each game really feels unique depending on how good your team and the enemy team is, It takes a lot of elements from other games, but it at least is trying to do something new with them. I never would have picked this up had it just been another battle royale or looter shooter. It works for me, but I understand if it isn't everyone's cup of tea. Though I do think that the developers deserve praise for trying something new. I'm sure when PlayerUnknown was making his mod for Arma 3, people didn't get it, but he believed in it and a whole new genre was formed. This isn't to say that this is going to launch a new genre, but I appreciate it when studios try something new. I will say that I don't really get the backlash. This is an indie studio. Its profile only heightened by the Game Awards, something that they were asked to do, not that they sought out themselves. It almost feels like people were hoping that this was going to be another Concord so they could make content on how much of a disaster it was. For one thing, it's free rather than $40 like Concord was, so I don't think it's going to be quite the same disaster, but they just were like, hey, we already decided this is what it is, we're going to make the content. But I suggest that you try it out for yourself, and if you don't like it, well, you didn't pay anything for it. But it's always important to try things and form your own opinions, especially when the barrier to entry is so low. So, have you tried out Highguard? If so, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe. We have new videos like this coming out every single week. And if you didn't get enough from this video, make sure you check out our other channels, which include Those Fake Nerds for nerd and pop culture news, Wiki Sports for sports news, Better Radio, who hosts all of our podcasts, and our newest channel, History is Wicked, where we cover cryptids, urban legends, and weird history stories. Again, thank you so much for checking out this video. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one.